Bueno, we are in the building. It is Monday. JC, you were first. You were first. Leave your comment as you come in. Let us know who you are. Let us know. Let's get this party started. Let's rock and roll. And it's going to be a slow week of boxing, not a big weekend of boxing coming up. We're going to talk about some fights this past weekend, and we're going to talk about some current events, and we're going to have some fun like we always do. We're going to have some fun here. Appreciate everybody who's been subbing. We're at record number of views on this channel the past month. So definitely appreciate everybody that's been hitting up the archives. Record number of views and record number of hours live to watch, which is the metric that I pay attention to most is retention, and the retention has been great. So appreciate everybody who's been swinging through and coming back and coming back and coming back. So beautiful, beautiful. Montana Royal Rumble love. I call him Montana hate now. You're no longer Montana love. You can't be disqualified for flipping a dude over the rope, and your last name is no longer love. It's now hate. That's hatred in your heart. Flipping a dude over the rope is not acceptable. You are Montana hate. You are a hate-filled man for flipping a dude over the top rope. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Montana, the ultimate warrior love. Sante Omedia, Mr. T in the building. Appreciate everybody for swinging through. We're going to talk about Sonny Edwards, Montana Love, Jenna Beck versus Bentley, Sunicia Estrada, Richardson Hitchens. We're going to talk about all those fighters throughout the show. Boots Ennis, his dad's out there saying we couldn't fight twice this year because of Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford and them not being able to work there. Yeah, yada, 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 yada. Same foundational issues in boxing that are causing issues in boxing throughout boxing. And we've talked about them constantly and incessantly on this show after show after show. And we'll hammer down once again on the foundational issues in boxing that are causing more problems weekend after weekend. The middleweight dumpster juice division. What an atrocious division. Let me tell you how atrocious of a division this is. The middleweight division is so bad. How bad is it? It's so bad that a guy who is over 40 years old, well past his prime, has the best win in the middleweight division this year. Gennady Golovkin against Murata. This division is atrocious. It's awful. It's one of the worst. It's historically bad. I don't think people understand how historically bad it is compared to what we've had in the middleweight division in the past. And in order for boxing to be firing off on all cylinders, in order for boxing to be working at its optimum peak performance, it needs the middleweight division to be good, and it needs a middleweight king, and it needs a welterweight king, and it needs a lightweight king. These are historic, sexy divisions. It needs a heavyweight king. And more on that, the IBF. The IBF is saying out there, wait. I know everybody wants to see Fury versus Usyk, but I have a better idea. Here's a better idea. How about Usyk versus Filip Hrgović, who just barely got past Zhang in his last fight? Wait, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're doing Fury versus Usyk for Undisputed, right? Undisputed heavyweight king. We finally have an undisputed heavyweight king for the first time in 2 decades. No. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? No, we can't do that. I have a better fight for you guys. Usyk versus Hrgović. How about that? No. I'd much rather just go to Usyk versus Fury for Undisputed after Fury fights his needless fight against Chisora, a trilogy that nobody asked for. How about we just go to the Undisputed? No. I'll tell you what you need. You need Usyk versus Hrgović. Okay. All right. Marinating fights for Undisputed. And we've talked about the issue in Undisputed. If they want Undisputed to mean things, if they want it to be meaningful, you have to give meaning. You have to reward the fighters who are wanting to fight for all the belts. And then when they get all the belts, we have to reward them. And on top of that, we have to make it sustainable once you become undisputed champion. We need to make it sustainable to where you can defend all 4 belts consistently. and they're just not doing any of that. So I'm left to ask how meaningful is Undisputed at this point? I mean, if we're a fight away we're once again a fight away from Undisputed at heavyweight. Once again, we're here. Once again, we're left here. And we're like, yes, next. It's going to be next. And then they say, here comes the cock block once again. Usyk versus Hurkacz. No. Dude, I would really like to see a Undisputed heavyweight championship fight. I'd really like to see it. I'd really prefer that over Usyk versus Hurkacz. I really prefer it. No, you can't do that. You have to watch Usyk versus Hurkacz, and then we'll give it to you next. But I'm going to tell you why Usyk versus Hurkacz is being, why I think. We always got to look at the macro picture and why sanctioning bodies are doing what they're doing. And I think there's a reason they're doing what they're doing here in mandating this fight instead of giving the Undisputed. I think there's a reason for, and let me ask the chat that. Why do you think Usyk versus Hurkacz, and I'll just leave it out there for a little while and see what the chat does with it. Why do you think that fight's being mandated right now when Undisputed is next? I'll leave that out there for the chat. Why do you think, like, what's a theory? I'll be the conspiracy theorist over here with the tinfoil hat. Why do you think Usyk versus Hurkacz is being mandated by the IBF when we have Undisputed next? Why do you think? Chauncey Pearl, they should have kept fighting. Royal Rumble love. I'm hitting up all the homies to subscribe. Appreciate you, JC. Janet Beck was talking mad greasy before the fight, but didn't finish his breakfast. That's it. Finish your breakfast. Finish your breakfast. You set the table, finish your breakfast, and you didn't finish the breakfast. You didn't eat the bacon. You didn't eat the toast. You didn't do any of that. You look like a pattern fighter out there. And look, I was propping Janet Beck up before the fight, hitting up multiple videos of how good Janet Beck is, why I think he could be the next middleweight king, why I think he was a top candidate for it. And I'm watching the fight Saturday night, and I'm like, oh, come on, get to it. You got to keep in mind, Janet Beck was a 20-1 favorite. Janet Beck, the over-under set for this fight was 4.5 rounds. Denzel Bentley is a good fighter. He is, but we expected Janet Beck to possibly be a great fighter, a really good fighter. He was supposed to beat a domestic level champion like a Denzel Bentley. And maybe Denzel Bentley is better than we thought, but at still 20-1, you got to walk through this guy. And if you want the big fights, I see people out there throwing out the fact these Eastern Bloc fighters put on bad performances purposely in order to lure guys in. Possibly, and I'll leave that out there for interpretation. Maybe. And maybe it's just a one-off. Maybe he just had a bad night. But instead of trying to lure top opposition in by looking weak, I prefer you go the Gennady Golovkin route. Your fellow countrymen. Fight every 4 months on average and mow guys down. Destroy them. Take their hearts, take their souls. Have everybody running for the hills in the short term, knowing that in the long term, as you build this organic fan base by knocking guys out consistently, the best competition available to you, long term, the top fights are going to eventually come to you in that weight class. Danny Jacobs, Canelo Alvarez 3 times, and he got wealthy off of that fight, those fights. Eventually, they have to come to you if you lay your claim for the division. And when we compare and contrast a Janet Beck to a Gennady Golovkin was mowing guys down like Daniel Gill, Martin Murray. Good opposition, like good middleweights. Not great, but good. The best available to him, and he was destroying them. Denzel Bentley isn't a Martin Murray. He's not a Daniel Gill, I don't think anyway. And to me, I had to take a step back and say, I don't know. What's our criteria when it comes to the eye test here on this channel? If your top peers are avoiding you, and if your handlers want to be aggressive with you, that generally signals to us that you're a very good fighter. that even though you're not in there with top competition, we start to deduct that over time, if that's happening, then you're a really good fighter. But I'm watching Janibek on Saturday night, and I'm starting to get Philip Herzgoff vibes. Remember Herzgoff when he fought Zhang? And we're like, I don't see why people were avoiding this guy. Why? That's sort of the vibes I was getting from Janibek, but hopefully I'm wrong about that. And this is the one-off, and Janibek can get back on track. But it goes back to what we've talked about on this channel many times, and what Steve Kim pointed out in his article today is these fighters today are overtrained and underfought. Overtrained, underfought. We talked about it incessantly. 8 to 10 to 12-week training camps. Once or twice fighting per year. And when you get that, you don't know who these fighters are. We don't know who Janibek is 6 years into his career. And on top of that, he's only 13 fights in. So my advice, if anybody would be listening to me from Janibek's camp, is get this guy busy. It doesn't matter who you fight next. It's November. Get this guy back in the ring February, March. Get him back in there every 4 months. Have him try to destroy guys and knock guys out, no matter who they are, until somebody has to come into the ring with you. Eventually, another top fighter. But these guys are fighting so... And Janibek has every right to be mad at fighters not fighting him. Boo Boo Andre not fighting him twice. And for the life of me, the dudes on Twitter Saturday night and Sunday morning, nauseating. The dudes capping for Boo Boo Andre, saying, oh... Giving Boo Boo Andre some sort of mythical victory over Janibek because Janibek went 12 rounds for Denzel Bentley. It's not how it works. Not how it works. Boo Boo Andre didn't fight Janibek. Denzel Bentley did. Just because he went 12 rounds with Denzel Bentley doesn't mean that's how he would have looked against Boo Boo Andre. And on top of that, if Boo Boo Andre ducks Janibek twice, ducks Zach Parker twice, I have to assume he would have lost to both fighters because there's a reason he had to avoid those fighters. So you're not getting some sort of mythical victory over Janibek because Janibek looked ordinary on Saturday night. That's not what we're going to do. We're not going to do that. That's for sure. But the issue with these fighters is, and Janibek has every right to be nauseated with the middleweight division as we are. But Janibek also needs to get busy. He also needs to get busy. I don't want to hear, oh, he can only fight once every 6 months. No, get him back in the ring February, March. If you want to get the top fights, you have to fight more often. Go the Gennady Golovkin route for the 20,000th time. If you want to lure top opposition in the ring, go the Gennady Golovkin route, fight once every 4 months against the best opposition available, mow them down, and build an organic fan base to where eventually your reward is going to match your risk. Eventually, so many people are going to be calling for these fights that your opposition has to fight you, the top opposition. So when I see Janibek fighting twice a year, when I see Boots Ennis' dad come out and say, we couldn't fight, we could only fight 4 minutes this year, one fight because of Crawford and Spence not agreeing, and it held up the division. This is what I talk about when I talk about the foundational issues in boxing. Foundational issues is what he's alluding to, I'm assuming, is they're locking up the division. They're holding up dates just in case. They want to see what's in the budget. And this is the issue when you promise fighters minimums. And this is also an issue when you have fighters locked down to specific networks. Apparently, Boots Ennis has a contract with Showtime. He has to fight on Showtime. So if they don't have the dates, they don't have it in the budget, he's not going to fight. Back in my day, a guy like Boots Ennis would have been busy at this point in his career, building up the organic fan base until the top opposition has to face him, because he doesn't have the guaranteed minimum. Because, and this is the issue, is Floyd's out there right now. Floyd's out there saying he fought whatever the dude's name is. And for the life of me, man, like, People ask me about the exhibition. I've never seen an exhibition match, and I never will. It's just not my thing. And different strokes for different folks. If you're into it, I'm not trying to spoil your fun. I just don't understand why you would want to watch. Like, I was watching highlights on YouTube, and Floyd is clearly pulling his punches. I mean, it's embarrassing. But he is on there after the fight saying currency over legacy, currency over legacy. And it's a shame because that's not how Floyd got his currency. It's not. This is the first time in my lifetime where we don't have an American star. We don't. Canelo's a superstar in boxing, and Anthony Joshua. Those are the only two that I know of, like real superstars in the sport. They'll throw out other names, but the only two real superstars, Canelo and AJ. Neither one of them is American. So when I see Floyd say something like currency over legacy, how did Floyd get his currency? He went for legacy first. He did. You can't dispute it. How did Oscar get his currency? He went for legacy first. I talked about it. Oscar was Ring Magazine pound for pound in 1997. He fought 5 times that year. Floyd was Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year in 98. I believe he fought either 6 or 7 times that year. Won a legit title against Genaro Hernandez and defended it against Angel Manfredi 6 to 8 weeks later. He went for it early. And then finally he gets his big break against guys like Arturo Gatti, a guy like Oscar De La Hoya, guys who were taking chances trying to beat the pound for pound king. But he became the pound for pound king is the point, and he did it with substance. Real fights, real championships. Before he got his currency, he was already building legacy. So what they're doing now, and what Floyd, along with Al, because Floyd has said, that's my dad, Al. He's like a father to me. We talk every day. And he doesn't do anything without me. I don't do anything without him. What they're advising these young American fighters to do is currency over legacy. And that's fine. But don't complain why you can't build long-term stars, because I'm out here trying to find a long-term American star down the line, and I don't see one. Where's he at? You can point me in the direction of great fighters. There's plenty of them coming out of America. Devin Haney's a great fighter. Shakur Stevenson, great fighter. Bam Rodriguez, great fighter. I can name 7, 8, 9 young, great American fighters coming up. And there's going to be more down the pipeline. That's natural. Like, you'll naturally be able to build great talent. That's never going to stop. There's always going to be that recycling process. Unfortunately, not in the middleweight division right now. But what's stopping that natural star process is the fighters aren't fighting the fights, and they're not going for legacy. They're not staying active enough, and they're not fighting top opposition. I was watching the UFC card Saturday night with some friends, and they mentioned, and I noticed, because I've noticed watching them, is once a fighter gets to a certain level, and they have the same issues we have with fighter inactivity. Once they get to a certain level, you only have so many dates, and you only have so much in the UFC budget. They have such a big roster that these fighters are at the top are only fighting once or twice per year as well. But every single time those guys fight, when they get to that level, they're fighting a guy in the top 5. There's never a point when those guys are fighting somebody out the top 10. It's not happening. It's not happening. They have a clear and concise ranking system, and they don't get away from that ranking system once you get to the elite level. They consistently have to fight the best fights or close to it. And there are certain exceptions, star-studded fights, but that's the blueprint that has got them to where they are, and that's why they can continue to recycle stars. With boxing, we're not recycling the stars now because they're going currency over legacy early. They're not building that organic fan base anymore. They're just not. And it's frustrating to see Floyd advising these fighters to do something that he did not do. And that's not going to help them long term. It may be better for Boots short term, to fight once or twice per year, get his guaranteed minimum, fight on Showtime. But how is that building him into a star long term? How? How? How are they building these guys long term when they're taking the highest site fees, giving them the guaranteed minimums no matter who they fight, sticking them on pay-per-view because they can't pay these fighters unless they put them on pay-per-view? How are they building stars? How are they going to do it? So the reason I bring it up is long term, it's not currency over legacy. Long term, going currency over legacy gets you neither. It may get you some currency, but it doesn't get you the currency that you would have seen had you done it the organic way. Had you done it the traditional way. You get more currency long term. You get in bigger fights long term because you're a bigger star long term. And boxing is naturally, through their foundation, building more stars for you to fight, more rivalries. So long term, it's more currency. And by the way, you get the legacy as well. But going currency over legacy over time gets you no legacy, and it gets you less currency long term. Short term, sure, it's security, pension, all that good stuff. $1 million per fight, whatever, 7 figures per fight. But long term, are you going to get the $10, $20 million paydays? No. And fighters 10 years in are starting to ask, like, why am I not a star? And then they're going to blame surface issues. No, it's not the surface issues. It's you're going against a proven blueprint. And instead, you're going the other route early on. And you're getting no legacy and you're getting less currency over time. Don't know. Middleweight. UFC's doing it. There's always something. Let's see. Give it a priority over mandatories across all sanctioning bodies. Matchroom slipped the IBF a bag. And possibly. But I asked the question earlier. I'm going to try to catch up with comments. My apologies on that. But I asked the question earlier. Why, instead of giving us Usyk versus Fury next, which everybody wants, why is the IBF trying to step in here and give us Usyk versus Philip Hershgov instead of Usyk versus Fury? And looking at it on a macro level, being a conspiracy theorist, being a natural conspiracy theorist that I am, I have to assume that, one, the IBF doesn't really care about Undisputed, because a lot of these sanctioning bodies don't seem to care about Undisputed, because once the fighters become Undisputed, they don't make it sustainable in order for them to maintain Undisputed status. But let's just look at the picture at heavyweight and what it's been the past few years and why we continue to be one fight away from Undisputed. We could have gotten Joshua versus Wilder for Undisputed. We didn't. Wilder went to fight Fury. Then we could have gotten Joshua versus Fury for Undisputed. And we didn't. Didn't get that. Whatever reason. And we didn't get that because Fury had to go fight. Fury had to go fight Deontay Wilder again. Rematch clause. So rematch clause messes up Undisputed. It messes up one of the biggest fights that can be made in boxing. Okay, so that gets us Usyk upsetting Anthony Joshua in the meantime. So instead of going to Usyk versus Fury next, rematch clause. Anthony Joshua gets a rematch clause against Usyk. We have to watch that fight again. And then, okay, Usyk beats Joshua again. What do we get next? We get Fury playing games. Fury saying, I'm going to fight Chisora in the meantime. Okay, fine. We're still one. Stay active, fight. Fine. But then we're one fight away from Undisputed again. One fight away from Undisputed again. So now we get the IBF saying, cock blocking and saying Usyk versus Hershgov. So I'm assuming that the IBF is doing this because if they mandate Usyk versus Herzog, Usyk will go ahead and fight Fury anyway for the 3 belts. So that leaves the IBF vacant. What happens when the IBF becomes vacant? They've already said they're mandating Herzog versus Ruiz. And what's going to happen in that scenario? Ruiz is going to say, I'm not going to fight Herzog. I'm going to go fight Deontay Wilder, the bigger fight. So we'll get Deontay Wilder versus Ruiz. What happens then? Who's next in line after Ruiz for Herzog? It's then Herzog versus Anthony Joshua. And we get back to IBF giving Anthony Joshua, the biggest star at heavyweight still, his belt back. I'm assuming that this is what it's about. They're walking this out in their head and saying, how do we give Anthony Joshua back the belt? I'm assuming that's what's happening here. And they're doing it against the better interest of boxing fans once again, because all we want to see is undisputed. That's it. We just want to see undisputed. That's it. It's about that bag. That's what it's about. We catch up to some of these comments. Some fighters and teams don't even know they're getting shortchanged. You need an industry insider or expert manager to put you up on the game. And that's true too. It's the fight. Like Errol Spence, and I'm going to go off on another tangent, get away from comments, man. I apologize, but it's more of a podcast than a live. But there's no doubt in my mind Errol Spence wants to fight Terence Crawford. There's no doubt in my mind Errol Spence has wanted to fight Terence Crawford for a while. But once again, me being the conspiracy theorist that I am, and I just believe he's being advised. He's not being told what's really going on behind the scenes in order to keep him away from Terence Crawford, and in order to keep him in fights under the same umbrella, under the same PBC umbrella, and keep his undefeated record, because I've always believed that Al has always thought that Terence Crawford would run through his stable, just run through it. And that includes Errol Spence. And I'll continue to believe that until I see otherwise. But this is what I'm saying is I don't think some of these fighters know this stuff. They're being advised against their better interests long-term for short-term gain, mostly for the promoters, the managers, the advisors, the sanctioning bodies, the networks. It's all saying, we've talked about it. All of these entities being lazy, right? The networks don't want to do their job. They don't want to work. So they pawn it off. They sign a contract exclusively with a promoter or a manager or an advisor. And they say, all right, you just give us the cards, give us the fights, we'll work exclusively through you. And the promoters, managers, advisors see this and say, oh, I don't have to do much work. I've got the fight dates already. I've already got the network tied up. And by the way, I'm going to put the fight with whoever gives me the highest site fee. I've talked about it ad nauseum. I've given the example of me showing up in Biloxi, Mississippi for Andre Berto versus Luis Collazo, a Haitian American from Florida, a Puerto Rican American from New York. And I'm sitting ringside next to Jadon Condrington behind Lou DiBella, and I'm comped. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking around at a half-empty ballroom around people who likely got comped as well. And I'm thinking, how are they making money off of this? And how are they building these stars? How are they going to build Andre Berto and Luis Collazo off of this? How? And it's just laziness and thinking short-term instead of long-term. And the issue with that, using this specific example, is Andre Berto is not going to be a star over time. Luis Collazo is not going to be a star over time because they're taking short-term money over long-term gain. And they consistently do it. All of them. Putting fights where they don't belong for the betterment of a fighter over long-term in order to build them as a star over time, organically. They're sacrificing that for short-term gain because they don't want to do the work. I just talked about it. Morrell Jr. wasn't even on the PBC fight schedule on their official website. It was on badlefthook.com. It was on ESPN.com, but it was not on PBC. They're not even promoting their fighters. They didn't promote. I talk to people out in LA. I talk to them all the time, boxing fans from LA. They did not promote the Sebastian Fundora fight. Fundora's from out there. Fundora is one of the most exciting fighters in the sport. He should be a star. And yet everybody in that little arena, in that little center, is comped. And I'm thinking to myself, how is that possible? Why wouldn't you promote this guy? Like actively be promoting this guy. And they're doing it, I'm guessing, because they have their money up front. But miss me with all the substance issues as to why you think these fighters aren't stars over time, and why we, for the first time that I can think of, and probably the first time in history, we don't have an American boxing star. Just think about it. We don't have one. We had Floyd. We had Oscar before him. Mike Tyson. Evander Holyfield. Sugar Ray Leonard. We had a bunch of American stars going back. We've always had them. We've always recycled them. We've always been building them like a farm system. And we're still building great fighters, but where are the stars? Where are they? And how do you plan to build them if you're taking short-term, thinking short-term, and nobody, there's not a grown-up in the boxing business, not one out there thinking long-term, longevity for the sport. The rising tide lifts all boats. So if you build off of a foundation, if you build a nice foundation in boxing and all work together, cross-promoting, cross-managing, sanctioning bodies working together, then you'd be able to build all of your fighters and build rivalries amongst stars. Now there's no stars to build rivalries around. Doesn't exist. Now we've got a middleweight division, an historically great division that is atrocious. It's historically bad, fellas. Historically bad. I'm watching Janabek fight Saturday night, and I'm still thinking to myself, as I watch him, and he continues to throw the same pattern of punches and saying, oh no, please don't tell me he's a pattern fighter. Please don't tell me he's a pattern fighter. Right hand, left hand, resets. Right hand, left hand, resets. Right hand, left hand, resets. Oh my God, please step on it. Please. We're in the 6th, 7th, 8th round. Right hand, left hand, reset. Right hand, left hand, reset. Occasionally an uppercut. Oh my God, Janabek, throw some combinations. Right hand, left hand, reset. 10th round. Right hand, left hand, reset. Buddy, tell him to throw some combinations, buddy, please. For the love of God, he's putting us to sleep. This is supposed to be an action fighter. Please tell him to throw some punches. Throw a 4, throw a 5, throw something, mix something in. Pattern fighter, oh my God. And I'm still thinking in my head, I think he could still beat the rest of the middleweights out there. How far we've come since Taylor Pavlik. Remember Taylor Pavlik won back in 07, 15 years ago? And I'm watching that fight, and this is glorious. Back and forth action. Knockdown, knockout. Great middleweight fight. Before that, you had Hopkins versus Taylor. And before that, you had stars, like legitimate stars, coming up and challenging the middleweight king, right? Oscar, Tito, and Bernard knocking him back down and say, no. My division. I'm a great fighter. Historically great fighter. No. This is my division. Defend. These are my belts. Defend until you consolidate all of them. Defend. Then Jermaine Taylor comes around, knocks him off that pedestal. Then Kelly Pavlik comes around, knocks Jermaine Taylor out. All right. Then we got Sergio Martinez moves into the division as a natural 154-pound division and takes it over. And then you got Cotto, who's the natural 154 pounder and takes it over. And what I'm getting at is you had guys who aren't natural middleweights taking over the division until Gennady Golovkin comes around, and he pretty much runs the division until Canelo comes around and beats him. Canelo, special fighter. All right, but now Canelo's out of it. Now Golovkin's past his prime. So now what do? Now we've got fighters begging Canelo for a fight at 160 pounders begging Canelo for a fight and then not fighting. Bobo Andrade. I'm supposed to give him some mythical victory just because Janibek looked average and went 12 rounds with Denzel Bentley. No. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing it. Not doing it. You ducked the guy twice. You don't get some mythical victory over. So we got Bobo Andrade doing nothing. We got Jamal Charlo doing nothing. Where did he go? Chris Eubank Jr. is supposed to fight a welterweight who gets knocked out for a female infertility drug. So what's he doing now? You know the song, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? Where have all the cowboys gone? That's how I feel about the middle. Where have all the middleweights gone? Doop-doop-doop, 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 doop-doop-doop. Where have all the middleweights gone? That's how I feel. Where'd they go? Where are the middleweights? And then you used to have junior middleweights who wanted to be in the sexy division and challenge the middleweights. Now we got junior middleweights just staying down there. Say, I'm just going to stay at 154. Where are the middleweights? Where'd they go? This is one of the worst divisions. Like True School Sports was pointing this out to me earlier on Twitter. Danny Garcia is literally, he's never fought at middleweight. He's literally in the top 10 at middleweight in one of the sanctioning bodies. I forgot which one. And I think he's wanting to fight Erislandy Lara for a Reggie belt at 155. It's amazing. It's incredible. So the junior, and Danny Garcia is not even a natural junior middleweight, but the junior middleweights who do want to fight at middleweight seem to want to fight at catchweights. Where is the middleweight stud? Like, where is that guy? You don't even have to be a star. Like, where is the stud? Where's that going to be? Who's that guy going to be? I was hoping it would be Janibek just because I want to see stars. I want to see studs. I don't care where they come from. It doesn't matter to me. Special fighters can come from anywhere. Talent comes from anywhere. It doesn't matter what genre you're in, boxing, football, wrestling. I mean, they got special wrestlers coming from Dagestan, I think the country's name is. Special UFC fighters coming from that little country. Out of nowhere. They can come from anywhere. Puerto Rico was putting out great boxers back in the day. Great boxer after great boxer. Not so much anymore, unfortunately. But they can come from anywhere, and I don't care where they come from. I just want to see them. And the middleweight division can't produce like one great fighter? And it's because you can't be a great fighter if you're not fighting great fighters. You can't. Unless you're a guy that's super avoided, like a Gennady Golovkin until he fought Danny Jacobs. Before he fought Danny Jacobs, I already said Gennady Golovkin's a great fighter, and I stand by that because he was mowing down the best opposition available, and I saw how his peers reacted to him when his name came up. So I said, it's got to be a great fighter. But I don't see that in Janibek right now. Don't, unfortunately. And I'm wondering where the guy's going to come from in the middleweight division. How is the middleweight division this bad? It's like we used to say that about the NFC West, right? When the NFC West had a 7-9 team making the playoff. That's like the middleweight division right now. It's like a 7-9. It's the tallest midget. And unfortunately, I'm watching Janibek on Saturday night, and I'm saying this might be the tallest midget. Like this might be the guy. Gennady Golovkin, who's over 40 years old, has the best win at middleweight this year. He's still number one at middleweight, as far as I'm concerned. He beat Murata over in Japan in the unification fight at middleweight. Who else at middleweight has done anything close to that? Nobody. Where's the guy going to come from? You shouldn't have a dude over 40 who is the middleweight king. It goes back to what I said about Hopkins. Does anybody think Jermaine Taylor was a better fighter than Bernard Hopkins? No. A greater fighter? No. Stylistically, he would have been a problem for Bernard Hopkins at any point, likely. And Bernard Hopkins fought many great fights after that and looked great for a while after that. But he definitely caught Bernard Hopkins on the downturn. And what I'm saying is the young lion has to fight the old lion, and the old lion can only stay the top lion of the pack for so long. And that's what happens when guys fight each other. So when you have a dude at middleweight, a sexy division, who's over 40 years old, who is still technically the best in the division because he has the only meaningful win in the division this year, that shouldn't happen. And it signals once again that we don't have guys fighting top competition. We have a breakdown in our foundation in boxing. And it's what I said about 147 too, is when you have 7 of the top 10 fighters undefeated in the division, which you had in the welterweight division. You had 7, still have 7 of the top 10 fighters in that division undefeated. That's a red flag that these guys aren't fighting each other. You should never have that. Never have it. And if Boots can't get the fights, he shouldn't be laying on the shelf. He should be fighting somebody. I don't care who it is. Hell, offer me $50,000. I'll go over there and take a dive. I will. I mean, I'll do it. Even if I come out with only half of it, 25,000, I'll do 30 seconds of work. That's fine. I'll take a dive. But fight somebody, fight anybody. Like, stay active. Overtrained, underfought. Overtrained, underfought. Fight. Son of a bitch, fight. Top 10 pound-for-pound fighters, fight. The 10 of you have a combined 13 fights this year. Fight. It's like it's a crazy idea. I know. It's a crazy idea for me as a boxing fan to suggest this, but maybe you guys should fight. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Like, and if you're not happy fighting Bum of the Month tour, if you're not happy fighting Uber drivers, here's another crazy thought. Virgil Ortiz isn't busy either, so maybe you should work together, cross promote, do something. I don't know, but I know, DAZN, Showtime. Where the hell did Cody Crowley go? Anybody hear from him? Like, where'd he go? I don't know. I mean, what Montana Love did the other night is more impressive than what these. At least he fought. Montana Love flips the dude over the top rope. And I'm thinking, no, Montana, come on, man. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't flip him over the top of the rope. And he flips him over the top of the rope. Goodness gracious. And I saw it coming last fight. And this is how desperate we are for stars, right? Is even after that performance in his last fight where he was knocked down, I believe, people are still saying, you know, this guy could be a pay-per-view star. He has star qualities. And I'm just looking at this like, no. Then the fight starts. Second round comes around, knocked down again. And Montana Love, he's great at one thing. He's great at punch. He's great at blocking right hands with his face. He's great at it. One of the best I've seen at it. Southpaw sucker. He's an absolute sucker for right hand. It's amazing. If you throw a right hand and you miss Montana Love with it, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. But Stevie Spark is just hitting him right hand. I'm thinking, you know, you might want, I don't know, Montana, like you might want to circle to his left. I don't know, like it's a crazy suggestion, I know, but you might want to circle to his left. You might want to circle away from that power hand. I don't know. You might want to put your front foot on the outside of his if you're this special fighter, future pound for pound star. And He's apparently a future pound for pound star. And from what I heard from the Cleveland folks is that place was half empty and 95% of it was comped. And this is how desperate we are for stars. It's like we're trying to see things, and I'm guilty of it because I wanted to see it in Janabek because I'm like, maybe he could be that guy, power in both hands, knock guys out, technically sound. And then I see right hand, left hand, reset, right hand, left hand, reset, right hand, and I'm like, Janabek, please, for the love of God, do something else. For the love of God, do something else. And I bet, by the way, full transparency, I bet the knockout in that fight. Didn't think it was going the distance. I mean, for the love of God, the over-under was 4.5. He was a 20-1 favorite. Right hand, left hand, reset. Right hand, left hand, reset. Janabek, do something. Like, buddy, tell him to do something else. Tell him to do something else except right hand, left hand, reset. Please, please. 8th round, right hand, left hand, reset. For the love of God, throw a combination. For the love of God, set your feet and throw a combination. Janabek, please. 12th round, right hand, left hand, reset. Was really hoping to win $40 there. Didn't happen. Instead, what I got was right hand, left hand, reset. Right hand, left hand, reset. And this is how desperate we are for stars, is I'm begging, like, please, can Janabek be the new Golovkin? Please, can, like, we have an Eastern Bloc fighter just come over here, just mow guys down who don't want to fight top competition. And instead, we get right hand, left hand, reset, and we'll likely get fight twice next year, unfortunately. And it brings me to Canelo. Let's go full circle. Why is Canelo a star? Canelo is a star because he didn't listen to Floyd Mayweather and go currency over legacy. That's why. And what did he get? He got both long term. Canelo took a chance early, fought Floyd Mayweather, lost the fight, learned from it. Life went on. Crazy how that works, right? Like, Canelo lost and life went on. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy. I know, like, he lost and people still wanted to see him fight. It's a crazy concept. He lost and people still wanted to see him fight. Crazy. I know, right? It's a crazy concept. Crazy. So he loses to Mayweather. He fought Trout before that. Oh, Canelo, you can't fight movers. You can't fight movers. You can't fight movers. Guys who have lateral movement, you can't beat them. He fights Erislandy Lara, wins. Later on, he fights another mover. I remember when Canelo was at 160. Oh, if Canelo ever moved up to 168, Billy Joe Saunders would be a big problem for him because Billy Joe Saunders is a mover. What does he do? He moves up to 168, mows Billy Joe Saunders down. A guy like Caleb Plant, slick fighter, would be all kind of stylistically wrong for Canelo Alvarez. And then Canelo runs through all of them at 168. And what happens? Oh, 168 is not that good. Then I'm starting to hear dudes say 168 is one of the best divisions in boxing now. Wait a second. Canelo just beat number 2 and 3 in division. It's one of the best divisions in boxing, but somehow that was a weak run by Canelo. Okay. Doesn't make much sense. But it brings me back to Canelo, is he went legacy over currency, knowing he's smart. He's a historian. He knew what he had to do as compared to his Mexican peers. Fight a lot early on in your career. Get your experience. Then move up, knock out a Baldomir. And Baldomir, up until that point, hadn't been knocked out, I don't believe. Great chin. And then move up after that, fight Austin Trout. And then we take our chance with Mayweather. You lose that, you get experience, and then you hop back up. Fight an Erislandy Lara. You fight your top peers in and around the weight class. And I'm not saying he didn't take light touches at points. I'm not saying he didn't fight at a catch weight, at middleweight. I'm not saying any of that. I've criticized him for some stuff. But what I'm telling you is he went legacy over currency like Floyd did, and like Floyd's advising other fighters not to do. And he got both long term. Now he's getting $50 million per fight. And now he's adding to his legacy. So When Canelo lost to Dimitri Bivol upsets him. Canelo was a 5-1 favorite. Once again, you hear people revising history, right? It's not that big of a win for Bivol. It is. It was. He beat the pound-for-pound king. But he loses to Dimitri Bivol, and I knew it. I knew what he was going to do. After the fight, Canelo said, it can't end this way. It can't. That's what he said. It can't end this way. I knew he was going to say that. And I knew he was going to circle back to Dimitri Bivol eventually. And I'm on record saying, I think Dimitri Bivol is arguably the most talented fighter in the sport. He's the best defensive fighter in the sport. He's likely the most versatile fighter in the sport. Top 10 in 11 different CompuBox statistical categories. All right. So I really don't see a way. I don't see an avenue in which Canelo can beat Bivol. And I hate to say it. I'm a fan of both fighters. But I want to see a guy like Canelo who takes chances be successful as possible. I'm not a fan. Remember, I'm not a fan of fighters. I'm a fan of the actions of fighters. So I'm a fan of how Canelo has conducted himself. I'm a fan now of how Bivol conducts himself. Bivol is outspoken. I want to be undisputed at 175. I want to fight better Bivol. To me, Bivol is the fighter of the year over Bam Rodriguez right now. But when I see Canelo come out yesterday and say, I want to fight, I want to be back in May, surgery went successful, I don't want a light touch, because I was thinking, when I first heard he's coming back in May, successful surgery, before I saw the full interview, I was thinking, fight the Zach Parker, John Ryder fighter over in the UK in May. Get yourself, those are both good fighters. Both top 10 quality fighters in the weight class. But certainly lighter touches than a Dimitri Bivol and possibly a David Benavidez. So when I saw him say, I want to circle back to Dimitri Bivol, my first fight back, I knew it. And guess what? Guess who's going to be giving him credit, win or lose? And I think he's going to lose. Guess who's going to be giving him credit? Is me, because he's circling back to fighting one of the top. I think Dimitri Bivol is top 4 pound for pound right now. He's circling right back to it, knowing stylistically it's not the best matchup, but knowing and saying, being the competitor that he is and knowing legacy matters, saying it can't end this way. A lot of other fighters would have avoided that fight. And by the way, I've heard a lot of YouTube channels the past 6 months saying he'll never fight Bivol again. Oh, he's avoiding Bivol because he fought Golovkin in his next fight and he had a surgery. Oh, he's ducking Bivol. Well, guess what? You're eating your words because he wants to fight Bivol in May. So no matter how that fight goes, guess who's going to be giving him credit is me. Because I consistently give credit to the fighters who are taking the toughest pathways and giving the fight fans what they want to see. Y'all know my agenda. And I'm transparent about my agenda on this channel. It's boxing fan talking to other boxing fans about how we can further our agenda as boxing fans. What's not in that? I got no agenda about race, politics. I don't care about any of that when it comes to this boxing thing. Does not matter. Doesn't matter to me at all, to be honest. A lot of other YouTube channels, their agenda is for those things, and that's fine. Like, you can love a certain fighter for whatever you want to love him for. It doesn't nationality, race, but you can't also call yourself an unbiased channel, an unbiased journalist. You can't. That's the issue people have with that. But for me, it's easy. I don't care where the fighter comes from. I don't care what his name is, how many consonants he has in his name. Doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me. It's who is giving me the best fights the most often. I want to be like a UFC fan when I just sit down. I don't have to worry about the money. I don't have to worry about who is with what promoter and all this stuff, and just know that I'm watching a top 5 matchup, a top 3 matchup, and fan of fighters' actions over the fighters. So when a Canelo consistently gives me belts matter, I want to fight for the belts. I want to defend. I want to fight other top pound for pound fighters. I want legacy. Legacy matters. I want to be above my other Mexican peers. I see that. I'm like, I'm rolling with that dude. I'm rolling with that dude. I don't know anything about him personally. People are telling me he's throwing musicians out of his daughter's birthday parties. I don't care. It's like I said about Zerto. I don't care if Zerto's throwing beer glasses at tourists down off the balcony. If Zerto is fighting best competition, I'm a Zerto fan. It doesn't matter to me what they're doing. So I don't care. Canelo can throw as many musicians out of his daughter's birthday parties that he wants. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Is he giving me the best fights? Is he giving me the best fights? Don't care if he's redheaded with freckles. I don't care if he's a green Martian with purple polka dot stripes. It doesn't matter to me. Is he giving me the best fights? And he is. So if he loses to Bivol in May, guess who's going to be showing up in September to see him fight again? This guy. Because I know after that, win or lose, he'll want to fight possibly David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant winner. And you losers out there who are focused on the wrong thing, it's like my Vietnamese father-in-law always tells me, you worry about wrong thing. You worry about wrong thing when I get off track. You losers out there who are off track, worrying about the wrong thing. Oh, Canelo's ducking Benavidez. Oh, Canelo's ducking this guy. Canelo's ducking that guy. How many fighters do you want him to fight at the same time? You want him to fight 10 fighters at the same time in the ring? How can he possibly be ducking all these fighters as he becomes undisputed, as he fights another top pound for pound fighter in Dimitri Bivol, as he takes the tougher contract? Dimitri Bivol was a way tougher fight than PBC was offering him. Do you really think that Jamal Charlo is a tougher fight than Dimitri Bivol? Let me duck this porn site or whatever is on here. You know, and this is what we're dealing with. And that's what losers do, though, is they sit back and they take shots at winners. Canelo's out there, beautiful wife, beautiful children, throwing musicians out of his daughter's birthday party, building up his legacy, and now he's making $50 million per fight because he understood he had to go the traditional route to do it. Legacy. He was still making good money, but legacy comes before the currency. And when you try to shortcut that, when you try to take the legacy out of that equation, what do you get? You get no legacy and you get less currency over time. And the losers can sit back and say stuff like, oh, he's ducking this fight, he's ducking that fight, he's ducking this, he's ducking that. But the reason they're talking about him is because he's a winner. He's a winner, and you need those guys. You need great polarizing figures. And for whatever reason, Canelo's become a polarizing figure, right? And it's because he wins. You're either going to hate him or love him, apparently. Tom Brady. Hate him or love him. Polarizing figure, but you need guys like that. Michael Jordan, LeBron James. You need guys who are perfectly polarizing because they're so great. So you're either going to have people drawn to him, or in most cases, you'll have losers sitting back who don't have anything going on in their lives. We're just going to take shots at guys like Canelo. And if you do it, like, there are things to criticize. There are things to criticize. I criticize him for the catchweight stuff. I criticize him for this, that. It happens. Nobody's perfect. But if you're going on these tangents that don't make any sense, just because you don't like a fighter, you're going to lose your credibility in the process. And that's what we have, unfortunately, for Canelo. But the only reason I brought him up is he's circling back once again, and I knew it. When he said after the fight, it can't end this way. He's fighting. He's going to fight Bivol again. He is. He is. People are telling him Bivol is all wrong for you. He's all wrong for you. Arturo Gatti fights Floyd Mayweather. Everybody in the world is telling him, dude, you shouldn't be doing this. He's all wrong for you. But the point is, he fought the fight. He fought the fight. He got destroyed, but he fought the fight. He could have fought $2 million per. He could have made $2 million per fight to fight any average opposition out there in Atlantic City, but he fought Floyd Mayweather. He fought Oscar De La Hoya out in Vegas. He didn't need to fight those fights, but he wanted to be the best. That's the point. That's the point. Give me the fighters who want to fight the best. And unfortunately, we're getting manufactured star after manufactured star until these guys don't look like stars when they step up, and then it falls down like a Berlanga. And when I see guys like Montana Love, I think that's another Berlanga. It's not going to happen. Sonny Edwards looked good on Friday night. To me, Sonny Edwards was the fighter of the weekend. Sonny Edwards looked great. Fluid boxer, one of the few boxers who can shift from conventional to southpaw back to conventional, fluid. Great lateral movement, great athlete, just missing power. And I want to see Sonny Edwards versus Bam Rodriguez. That's the fight we need to see next at 112. So he was the fighter of the weekend. Montana Love, we found out, overvalued. Janabek, we got to take a step back. You know, possible. It's possible it was an off night. We'll see. We'll see. We got to take a step back, reevaluate things. And the reason we do is these fighters give us so little to go off of because they're so inactive. So I don't really blame boxing fans for being so up and down, hot and cold with fighters because it's just not giving us much to go off of. I know at this point in the season that the Saints suck. They're 3-7. I know. I know at this point in the college football season that Alabama's not as good as they used to be. I know. Other sports give us that. UFC, like I said, once you get to a certain level, you have to fight top competition consistently. Dana White's not going to put you in there with a guy outside of the top 20. It's not going to happen. So we know about these fighters. In boxing, we just don't know with a lot of these fighters. So when a Janabek doesn't look all that good, looks very ordinary, I don't really blame boxing fans that much to say, oh, he's just not that good. Maybe he had an off night, but it's just you're fighting twice a year. You're not giving us much to go off of. Senicia Estrada, what she needs is another female star to fight. Female boxing has proved that you need another star rival. You need it. And Senicia Estrada needs to find that rival. Needs to find it. She can look great, but if she wants to be a star as a boxer, she needs to find that rival. And Richardson Hitchens, he needs to find the right hand. Richardson Hitchens put me to sleep the other night because although he got the knockout, jab, 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 it's like, dude, do something else. And Janabek, do something else except right hand, left hand, reset. Right hand, left hand, reset. You got to give us more layers, more layers, more layers. So once again, my apologies for not getting to many of the comments. You know how I am. I get off on my tangents and rants, but slow weekend of boxing coming up, but I will be here a couple times this week doing these long form podcasts. And on top of that, look out on the channel for all the short form content that I've been dropping. Like I said, the viewership has been up significantly on the channel. And on top of that, the retention has been off the chart. So I appreciate everybody who's been coming back and coming back and coming back. Appreciate that. So more content coming. Look out for it every day. On that note, y'all have a beautiful rest of the Monday. God bless. Peace.